Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father Georg Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio today Professor Taiwo Abioye. Professor Taiwo Abioye is a senior research fellow with Terra Leadership Foundation and a visiting professor with Veritas University. Used to be Deputy Vice Chancellor of Covenant University, and now he's with us for a brief moment. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
One of the projects Prof is working on is how to stem the violence against women and girls. Yes, and it is a topic that every Nigerian should really be concerned with. We read in the media that since the lockdown last year, the COVID-19 lockdown, that there's been increase in domestic violence in general, yes, and particularly violence against women and violence against girls. What could be happening? Our society is supposed to be more civilized. We're supposed to have advanced in a lot of things. And we had the Beijing conference how many decades ago? And we have a lot of groups in this country that are fighting for the rights of women, the rights of girls, fighting for recognition of the rights and equal dignity of men and women and male and female children. We've been working on the girl child for a long time, to the extent that actually we are told that a number of young boys now are complaining that their female colleagues have a lot of attention from the society, yes, and they have been neglected. Yes. But what is happening if there is still record of so much violence against women and girls in our society? The media is replete with reports of domestic abuse, wife battering, and also we have the battering and abuse of house girls, maids that are brought from the village to come and help. I think it's a particularly Nigerian phenomenon. I don't think we have it in many countries where the average elite household has a house girl to help with babies, to help with whatever. And then these poor girls, because they are often children of poor people, are subjected to a lot of abuse and violence. What do you think is happening? And especially you are handling this project, how to stem this and how to train people to stem this tide of violence against women and girls. From your discussions with others, what is happening?
Thank you, sir. I would like to say that domestic violence is not a new phenomenon in Nigeria, but then after the COVID-19 lockdown, a lot more cases have been reported. And I think it is due to the fact that so many people found themselves in other people's spaces. During the lockdown, people could not go to work. They could not go to their offices. They could not go to their places of business. Even markets were shut down. And so many things could not happen. And so people found themselves confined at home. And then as they were at home, it became a new phenomenon.
You say people found themselves in other people's spaces. So yes, the madam of the house found himself in the house girl's space. Something like that, right?
Yes.
And because the madam used to go to work. So yes, for 3 months, the madam didn't go to work. And the space of the house girl, the space of the nanny, yes, madam was now
in that space.
I see.
Or, yes, the house girl did not even show up because she was asked to stay at home.
Okay.
Now, it became a difficult situation to manage. Children were at home. They were not going to school. There was nobody to say, I'm going for school runs. I want to quickly dash down the road to buy something. Everybody was just at home.
So the madam and the husband,
yes,
who used to manage only a few hours in the day to see themselves,
precisely,
and manage the attention within, yes, a few hours,
yes,
they were now 24 hours.
24 hours. And
it was too much time to spend together.
Many of them found it difficult to deal with. And so, coupled with the fact that many of them did not have enough money. Remember, sir, many of them lost their jobs. Some of them maybe have salaries, and then some nothing at all.
But all this you have said, what brings violence out? The man lost his job, okay, many people lost their job, some people on half salaries. It is still not clear to me why domestic violence, why violence against women and girls should increase.
Well, the issue is that in most cases in our culture, we take it out on the person that is less privileged, or the one that is below our rank or status. In the family, the husband is the head of the family. And then in some families, the woman has no say whatsoever.
So it is a power equation issue.
Sir. Power relations.
It's power relations issue. So because when you talk about somebody who is unemployed or underemployed, not enough money, and then spending more time now at home, the man is not fighting his boss. The man is not going and beating his boss. So it is about...
Not dare.
He will not dare. So it is about abuse of power.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The society is patrilineal, and so the man is seen as the head. Whether he qualifies financially, psychologically, nobody cares. The man is the head. And as long as he is there, he wants everything to revolve around himself.
Well, I mean, okay, yes, in our society, the man is head. I mean, it's almost all societies in the world. In a family, the man is head. But does head translate to beating wife? That's my own problem.
That is where the problem is, sir. Many of them take out their frustrations on their wives. Some of them even see that their wives are doing well and they don't want this at all because they believe that the woman will now start looking down on them. So they don't want the woman to do well at all, even though it is for the good of the family.
Now we are getting into an area that should concern, psychologists and marriage counselors and so on and so forth. That how does the man manage a circumstance where the woman is doing maybe better than him materially? And like you added, it is for the good of the family that the woman is doing well. But does doing well become a threat to the husband?
It does, for men who have issues.
Who have issues, who have no sense of security or confidence themselves.
Yes. It's a problem for them because they believe that people will no longer see them as being in charge.
You need money to be in charge.
Yes, they need money to be in charge. They need to show how powerful they are for them to be in charge. The woman says anything, if you dare open your mouth, I will slap you, and then she keeps quiet.
But, Prof, are there instances where the woman who happens to be doing well materially, earning more money as it were, are there instances when she herself becomes, I don't know which word to use now.
Overbearing?
Overbearing on account of controlling resources, perhaps more than the husband. Are there or aren't there instances? Meaning, could it be that many women themselves who make progress materially beyond their husband, could it be that many women don't handle that situation well?
It is possible, sir. And I will say probably because of individual differences. If you are the one providing for the family is yours. So why do you want to make noise about it? If your husband provides, fine. If you are the one that is available, if you are the one that can provide now, fine. The children are yours. The family is yours. If you see the two of you as being in a partnership, it shouldn't be any problem at all.
That is in an ideal situation,
Yes,
where
sir.
the two of you see yourself as in partnership. Because
Yes,
I have
sir.
seen circumstances where there are parts of this country and people in this country who believe that providing for the family is 100% the man's job. I hope you have heard that.
Yes, sir.
100% the man's job. And so, when the man is not able to provide, he loses, quote unquote, his authority.
Yes.
There are instances where the wife begins to talk and just treat him without his
Disdain.
with disdain, because he is not able to perform what society sees as his role in the family, to provide for the family.
That is one of the problems we have too, because the society lays an unnecessarily big burden
on the husband.
Yes.
Even when things are not going well with his career.
It is expected that he will still provide for his family.
I have heard wives who say that her salary is for her. I mean, I have heard wives that say, look, it is my husband's role to provide for the family. My own salary is for me. And you have 4 or 5 children. You don't think you have an obligation? Say, no, my salary is for me. It is the husband. Is either able to be a husband or not.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, isn't that setting the stage for problems?
Yes, and it will go beyond domestic violence. The man may not even last long because of the unnecessary pressure on him. Provide everything.
I like what you are saying now. A number of Nigerian men actually constantly live under that kind of pressure. And since many people don't want to be seen as not fitting in to the profile of a good husband, who knows, it may even be responsible for some of the corruption in the society, because the man wants to be a husband. The man wants to play his role as the provider. And then the richer the woman gets, the more comfortable the woman gets, the greater the pressure the man is under to outdo the woman in wealth. What would you have to say to women who put their husbands under such pressure?
I would want to say that things have changed, sir. Things have changed in the society, the economy, everything has changed. When we were young, when we were small, everybody looked up to the father. The father was supposed to be the provider. And you will recall that in those days, men had many wives so that they could work on the farm. But now, things have changed. We have basically nuclear families. And these families are expected to be, let me say, in equal partnership. The Bible tells us that for this reason, a man
leaves his house.
will live, yes,
The
and
wife
then the
leaves her
same,
house
they
and
live. So, but the way we see it, probably because of our culture, if anything happens, the man says, leave my house, leave my house, leave my house. The house is his, it's no longer theirs.
That is another evil that needs to be dealt with. I mean, I have seen situations where somebody who has lived for 25 years with his wife, and then they have a quarrel and he's leave my house. How can you call it your house? The house you both built. Okay, you are working, she was doing the homemaking.
Yes.
And homemaking, and I have constantly said, homemaking should be rated. I mean, the person who is responsible for the home while you are working, that frees you.
Yes.
Frees the man to be able to
From
be
other
away from home.
obligations, yes.
So she frees you by making the home, by raising the children. Then you can come after 25 children and maybe 4 or 5 children and say, get out of my house. It is no longer your house. And I have constantly told people in our chapel here, in the Terra chapel, I tell people that no, if you are a member of this chapel, after your marriage, you are building a house. The house should be in the name of the two of you. It cannot just be in your name. The house should be in the two names. And of course, I encourage every man in Terra chaplaincy to make sure that their will, no matter how young they are, they write their will, and that their next of kin is their wife. And also the women, their next of kin is their husband. Don't make your brother your next of kin. You are calling for trouble.
Yes.
Don't make your brother your next of kin when you're already married. And I reminded them, in fact, I did that a few weeks ago, once again reminded them that if you already opened your bank account, you already had your employment papers, everything, and your next of kin were other people, now that you are married, go to those institutions and change your records. Because these are the things that create the background eventually for the violent showdowns we see. Of course, if the woman knows 10 years after marriage, she knows that she is still not the next of kin officially of her husband, then of course she can say that the money she is earning is for her. Yes. Yeah, because she has no stake. Yes. What it means is that she has no stake. 10, 15 years after marriage, she has no stake. So discussing the incidents of violence, domestic violence, it means from all we are saying now, there are issues that precipitate.
Yes.
What about the whole issue of appreciation of the dignity, for us Christians, the equal dignity of men and women before God? Because that's where it begins.
Yes.
Equal dignity. So that the sanctity and dignity of each person is respected and acknowledged, and then each person is treated, including the nanny, by the way, including the house girl. Because you see, if we respect the equal dignity of everyone before God, then the house girl that lives with the husband and wife will also be treated
like a child. Yes. Thank you, sir. First of all, let me say I pray that other churches, other organizations will copy what you have just said about recognizing the rights of the woman as a homemaker, as a home builder, taking care of the children. If other churches can look at it the way you are looking at it, things will become better.
You know, we had to get into this because we had a story. Somebody told a story in our chapel about a man who was married, and 25, almost 30 years after he died, it turned out that his next of kin is his brother. It turned out that a few weeks after he died, some relation came from the village and chased out the wife and children from the house he built. And said that the properties of the brother was for them. This woman and her children that have lived with this man for all these years, they don't matter. I mean, really? So we now had to say, those of you who belong to this chapel, now we are going to make sure that this does not happen to anybody here. Therefore, put down your will. Write your will. And don't be superstitious. You are not going to die because you wrote a will. No, because
that's the problem.
Yeah, many Nigerians are afraid to write a will.
And once you write your will,
it means you're
on the way out.
No, you are not going to die if you write a will. And I tell them that, look, I say I wrote my will before traveling out of the country in 1988. That is 32 years ago. 33 years ago, I wrote my first will. And again in 2007, before traveling out of the country again to Germany, I renewed my will. Renewed my will. Now, I said, look, I have books, I have musical instruments, I have other things. So I wrote what I intend to happen to all those. And then, of course, part of the reason why I started writing will was because there was a priest who died that I knew, and they began to fight over where he is to be buried. The relations said, oh, he's the first son of our family. He must be buried in our family compound. And then, of course, by our discipline as Catholic priests, it is the bishop that decides, that should decide. So I wrote in my will that it is the bishop that is to decide.
You have settled everything.
Yes. And I gave a copy to my brother, and I gave a copy to the bishop. Then I said, look, if I have anything, let my relations not come and struggle with the diocese. whatever I have as a priest, and I belong to the diocese. So everything I have belongs to the diocese. If I need to give out anything, it will be given out before I die. If I die, anything that is met there belongs to my diocese. So nobody can come, none of my relations can come and fight with the diocese because I have it written down. And I got my brother as a witness and gave him a copy. Now, 30 years after, I have not died. So nobody should be, we are Christians, nobody should be afraid to put down his will and make sure that your next of kin is your spouse.
As a matter of fact, the major challenge we have to all these issues are actually cultural. Because we will say it is not done. In our culture, this is how it is done. We have forgotten that we are Christians.
Yeah.
In Christianity, how do we do it? They don't think about that. When
and
it is
culture,
time to
even
inherit,
that our culture evolves.
Yes.
Culture evolves. Culture is fertilized from influences of various things. So our own culture, by the time you go to certain parts of this country that are 90% Christian, then Christian values should influence the evolution of culture.
Yes.
So you cannot just say this. Are you saying this is how our ancestors used to do it, or are you saying this is our culture? Because what do you mean by culture? The way we eat, the way we dress, the way we sing, the way we speak, that is what makes up culture. And the way we speak, it evolves. The way we eat, it evolves. So, do you want to do things by how your ancestors used to do it, or do you want to do it according to what you say culture, which is evolving?
Yes. I think they pick the most convenient. When it is convenient, they say it is culture. When it is not convenient, they say it is religion. But the majority of the men in this country, let me say majority of the men in this country, what they do is that they don't want to name their wives as next of kin.
So you mean that it is not just what I said about fear of dying, that they are not writing
that's
will?
Not just it's
they
not
don't.
just
they
that.
really don't want to.
Yes. I had a colleague who told me that what if something happens to him? I said, but you have children. He said, that his children are still young. The woman will just carry his children and carry his property and go away. I said, don't look at it that way. You must provide for your family. Because the Bible tells us that he who is not able to provide for his family is worse than an infidel. Whether you are alive or you are dead, whatever it is you have belongs to your children,
and
your wife and your children.
Who tells him that he will die before his wife?
Well, that's.
I mean, so he has already made up his mind that he will die before his wife.
Yes, he has already made up his mind.
He has assumed that he will die before his wife.
Yes, that he will die before his wife, and that it's possible for this woman to abandon his children and just go away with his property.
That shows how shaky the foundation of many marriages are. What it means that a lot of marriages that we call Christian marriages are actually standing on very, very shaky foundations. Because when people go to marry as Christians, it is taken to be till death do us part. And if it is till death do us part, then, and the Christian marriage says, the two have become one.
One, yes.
So, I don't understand how you can sign that kind of bond, that kind of indissoluble bond with somebody, and still be talking about the fact that, oh, if I die, we'll go and marry somebody else, and so on and so forth. Before we close this segment of the program, we have discussed all these external factors that may precipitate violence in the house. Of course, if the husband is not happy, if the wife is not happy, whatever, then such toxic families, toxic relations in families are not good for peace in the family. What advice do you have for couples? I mean, that sometimes tempted to resort to physical violence, especially on the part of the husband.
Such partners, they should try as much as possible to control their temper, because being violent does not mean you are strong. It doesn't
actually means
even mean you are right.
It makes you are very weak.
So being violent does not mean you are strong. It doesn't mean you are right. But it shows that something is missing somewhere. And so whether, even on the children, there's a way you can discipline a child without flogging or inflicting injuries on the child or the house help. There are different ways.
As we conclude this segment,
Yes.
I think that the person who cannot engage in a dialogue and cannot solve conflict situations with dialogue, there is a problem.
Yes.
Some experts says that many husbands and wives began to live marital lives without negotiation skills. Without the required negotiation. If you are going to live with somebody, not to talk of lockdown and looking at one another for 24 hours, if you are going to live with somebody continuously, then definitely there will be conflict situations. Almost on a daily basis, there will be things you disagree about, and that you require conflict negotiation skills. Skills to dialogue over issues.
Yes.
Communication skills, to be able to express yourself and know how to listen to the other person.
Yes.
I think these are some of the things that are lacking.
Violence is not the answer.
Of course. No, violence just worsens the problem, complicates the problem. On that note, we bring the segment to an end and pray that our society, from recognizing the equal dignity of men and women to recognizing the equal place of husband and wife in a marriage, that through that we can bring this to an end. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.